Good afternoon, beloved community, and welcome back to another episode of The Chosen Heroes, where we dive into the extraordinary stories of resilience, survival, and enlightenment from those who have faced the unimaginable challenges as targeted individuals. I'm your host, Melissa Miller, and today we're honored to have a true warrior in our midst, Bob Gettman. So before we bring Bob up to the stage, we're going to kick it off with this week's news and review for Targeted Justice.
The CIA began moving their domestic headquarters to the Denver airport around 2005. The mass shooting events in Colorado suddenly skyrocketed. Targeted Justice continues to claim that most of these psychopathic CIA criminals live in Aurora, Colorado. The Denver facility likely has 5,000 to 10,000 employees. Some of these employees work from home. As FBI Chief Ted Gunderson stated, the CIA and FBI are behind most, if not all, terrorism. We believe it is time to #defund CIA and shut down all of their operations. They cannot be reformed.
If you would like to write an article for Targeted Justice or be a guest editor, contact us at tjustice2@proton.me. Please put editor in the subject line. We can keep your name anonymous if you prefer.
Dr. Juliet Engel, MD, is on the advisory board of Targeted Justice. She recently wrote an article on her Substack titled 12 Evil Men, which is about the CIA exposing MK Ultra. She begins the article, and I quote, "At 76 years old, I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. For me, and for thousands of other MK Ultra program survivors, this is a life-changing event because after more than half a century of calling survivors of childhood abduction, torture, abuse, and forced drugging insane, the CIA has confessed. They did it. They acknowledge that the MK Ultra program and all its many derivatives was begun in 1953 by a small group of men that I will call throughout these newsletters 12 evil men." End quote. Please head over to her Substack to read the rest and consider becoming a subscriber to her newsletter. God bless you, Dr. Engel.
Rockefeller told Russo that they plan to put implants in the entire population to help control everyone. They tried to recruit him to join the Council on Foreign Relations, or CFR for short. Check out this 7-part series interview with Alex Jones.
Harlan Gerard is probably the oldest well-documented case of a targeted law-abiding citizen. His DO attack started in 1984. He was convinced that the attacks came from satellites. He was a civilian and had never worked for the U.S. government. He formed the International Committee on Offensive Microwave Weapons, or ICOMW for short. Here is his lawsuit from 1998. Oddly enough, there is no record of this case being dismissed. Open an account and post your legal needs and questions. You can define your legal situation and attorneys will review and respond.
Have you submitted a FOIA request and it got rejected? If the FBI or DOJ rejects your FOIA or Privacy Act request, we have a template that you can use as a response. Never give up.
Calling all digital warriors. Repost, share, and like this video on every social media site that's out there. We always looking for some awesome people willing to volunteer their time. Let us know what special skills and unique talents you possess by shooting us an email to tjustice2@proton.me. In the subject line, tag volunteer. Looking for more targeted justice content? We have several channels online, 100% free, on rumble.com. Appreciate what we do? We are accepting donations and they're all tax deductible. You can either hit this link to do a quick submission of payment or send us a check to the following mailing address. We are a non-profit organization. We have several different items at our store, ranging from clothes, cups, and merchandise. Either get something for yourself or buy a nicer gift for that special someone by hitting this link.
Thanks for taking your time to watch this video. And God bless, and God bless.
Great job, as always, that Sean does on the Targeted Justice newsletter weekend review. We have just a couple more announcements before we bring our special guest up to the stage. As everyone may know, Anna Toledo's in Washington, D.C. is committed to at least, 6 months of being there to, be the advocate for each and every one of us, getting meetings scheduled with representatives and those that, have the ear to make a difference, right? And to be that squeaky wheel for us, and to say that we're not backing down. We're going to continue to use our voice and bring what has been done to us up, and we're not going to be quiet. So for, of course, her being there, if you have some extra to spare and want to donate, she has a givesendgo.com page/Toledo. In any little amount helps in this very important journey to get greater recognition for targeted individuals worldwide. I always want to give a shout out to tievents.org. Tranquility just does a beautiful job, and she continues to just expand and expand and expand in the content and everything that she is doing. TI Movie Night, the way she organizes all the events, podcasts, phone calls, everything TI on tievents.org. If you haven't checked it out, I strongly suggest you do. Nothing is better than having recognition and acknowledgement by those who understand what you're going through. The outside world, family and friends that are not aware of what this is and how it feels to be targeted. It can be so isolating. And one of the keys to success of this program is that isolation. So we want to break out of that. We want to be in community with those that understand and have that acknowledgement. It just helps nourish and feed our soul to be acknowledged and understood by the symptoms that we have, the tactics that are being used, the directed energy, the central nervous system, hijacking, and all the things that we do. So I encourage, community, and tievents.org is a great place, to get your toe dipped into the water there. And I appreciate all who support the Chosen Heroes, who like and subscribe and share the content. I do this for all of you, and I'm very passionate about it. I've been targeted since 2012, and our voice is our greatest weapon. And God bless you all. I pray for each and every one of you every single day. All right, I'm going to bring our guest up to the stage. I'm going to do an intro before we begin. Bob Gettman is distinguished 32-year professional career as a computer network technician and engineer. Following 6 years of service as an enlisted member in the U.S. Navy, Bob is now retired and channeling his expertise into advocacy. A devoted husband and self-described patriot aligned with making America healthy again. He profoundly is blessed by God amidst his trials. He joined X in 2025 and shares his insights and about the Lyme and Morgellons that he experienced. And he has suffered that since 1996, battling chronic Lyme disease for nearly 3 decades and confronting the enigmatic and often misunderstood condition known as Morgellons since May of 2021, which he links to the advanced nanotechnology, the geoengineering, the self-assembling fibers, and the bioweapon origins. He's been targeted since January 6, 2021. And then with intense and overt targeting escalating since January 2023. Bob has turned his personal trials into a quest for truth, drawing from key resources like Dr. Ginger Savley's book on Morgellons, Kris Newby's Bitten, Dr. Anna Mahalcha's Transhuman, Dr. Hildegard Staninger's work on messagens, and Isabella McLeod's Transhuman. He embodies the heroic spirit we celebrate here and is ready to share his journey, including experiments with treatments, insights on Lyme's Morgellons connection, and the broader implications of all of us navigating these hidden battles. Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate you joining me here today to have this discussion. Are you able to hear me?
Hi, Melissa. Yes, I can hear you, but I want to let you know.
All right. It looks like we're having a little bit of a connection lag. Bob, if you can hear me, the connection is kind of going in and out a little bit. We'll give it a little bit to see if
in the last
yeah, Bob, we're having trouble with your connection. You're going in and out on the connection.
right. I can disconnect and reconnect if you think that might help.
Right now it's okay. Because you were cutting out and we really couldn't hear much of what you said, but let's give it a try and see if we can move forward without having to do the disconnect. So can you describe how your Morgellons symptoms first appeared in May of 2021 and how they differed from or built upon your 24 years of dealing with the chronic Lyme disease? Bob, if you can hear me, the connection is freezing up again. So let's see if maybe disconnecting and reconnecting, if that'll help, because it keeps going in and out each time that you try to, and then I will continue talking until you're able to reconnect, and then I'll bring you back up.
All right, I will reconnect.
All right, no worries. Okay. Audience, this is what, we deal with live broadcasting, and especially being targeted individuals. This is nothing, no stranger to the chosen heroes when we're trying to get that interception. But what I wanted to bring up is something that I saw recently, and y'all might not be aware of it. And depending on whether we can have a successful connection with Bob when he rejoins, I may play a clip from it. I wanted to point out that there was a discussion with Kris Newby, who is the author of the book. Let me get the full name of it here. The name of the book, it's written by Kris Newby. Okay, I think Bob is trying to connect again. Let me see if I can find him here. We'll give it a try. It's still trying to connect. All right, Bob, can you hear me? We can't see you. Not seeing any video, not hearing audio. Okay, well, I'm just gonna, he may be trying to make adjustments with the settings. So as I was saying, there was a interview with Tucker Carlson in May of 20. Hi, Bob. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, it's still a bad connection. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you right now.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let's try again. I will ask the question that I asked when we were having difficulty with the connection. Can you describe how your Morgellons symptoms first appeared in May 2021 and how they differed and built upon your 24 years of dealing with chronic Lyme disease? Yes, it just seems like he's having heavy interference. Hi, Bob. I think you're having heavy interference on your end with the connection to talk.
Yeah, I agree. It's going up and down. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not your fault. We understand. I don't know if it's Wi-Fi maybe related, or we could try to see. The only other thing I can think of that helps when there's been a big connection lag with the PC is joining this the podcast stage through your cell phone. And sometimes that makes a difference when they are trying to hit the Wi-Fi connection really heavy. So we have that as an option.
Okay. Yeah, that might be the best thing for me at this point.
Okay, let's try that. And I will just continue to talk until you are able to join back in on the mobile. I know that this has happened quite a few times with Anna Toledo, and when she joins, flips to the mobile, it seems to work, and it's helped with other guests as well. All right, I think the connection is froze up again. So we're going to wait for Bob to go ahead and try to join back in on the mobile, using his mobile. Okay, because it even looks like it's taking its time to, even disconnect. Bob, you want to disconnect and then rejoin using the link that I sent you for the podcast stage with your cell phone? All right, I think he's just having trouble disconnecting. We'll give him a few minutes. And then I'm just going to lead into the discussion about this video that I think everybody should see. It really ties in with today's topic about Morgellons and how the military has used ticks for, weaponization, not just ticks, but, fleas and other things as part of the weaponization. So this discussion that I came upon was by Tucker Carlson, and he had Kris Newby, who was the author of Bitten, The Secret History of Lyme Disease and Biological Weapons, as a guest speaker. And she is a science researcher. And during this clip, they go into discussing, where Kris goes into discussion about how the U.S. government bioweapons programs and the emergence of Lyme disease and related tick-borne illnesses. And it all started, it seems, in the late 60s when around Lyme, Connecticut, directly across from the Plum Island, which was a U.S. government headquarters for anti-animal and crop bioweapons research during the peak of the Cold War biological weapons program. And these include Lyme arthritis and rickettsia, I believe is how you pronounce it. Similar to Rocky Mountain spotted fever, which is the deadliest tick-borne disease in the U.S. And I think it's Babesia, that it's a cattle parasite rarely seen in humans, which can be fatal. And there are, several tick-borne diseases that showed up right around Lyme, Connecticut, at the mouth of the Connecticut River, which is right across from Plum Island. So the clustering of these diseases near a bioweapons lab, on Plum Island, raised questions whether or not if they were natural or a result of experiments. Does this sound familiar, right? So Newby notes that such outbreaks should trigger CDC investigations into natural versus unnatural causes, but the response was delayed and secretive. Big shocker, right? And of course, Tucker's response then was that it sounded like kind of crazy conspiracy theory thing. But I think people would be reluctant to receive that now, especially what we have been exposed to in all of these uncoverings this year, especially. So not so crazy theory. And we know that conspiracy theory, a lot of this is being proven true. And so with this being one thing that really stood out to me was something that she mentioned, which she discusses this in her book, Bitten. It was interviews that she had with Willy Bergdorfer, which was a NIH researcher who officially discovered Lyme spirochete, who admitted to working on weaponizing insects as a contractor at Fort Detrick. This involved mass producing and infecting fleas with plague, mosquitoes with deadly viruses like the Trinidad virus, and ticks with incapacitating or lethal agents such as relapsing fever. And the Venezuelan equine endocephalitis, rabies, leptospirosis, and she quotes Willy Bergdorfer saying that he spent over a decade in the biological weapons program as a contractor at Fort Detrick, working on weaponizing fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes, trying to mass produce them, and referencing it like Dr. Strangelove, trying to make new diseases, mixing bacteria and virus and ticks. Okay? And then it goes into stating that ticks as a perfect stealth weapon, right? And then the goal was to create a cost-effective biological weapon that weakens populations without destroying infrastructure. And Newby cites a military report of a tick-borne rabbit fever, tularemia. I could be mispronouncing that. I most likely am. That she states they can kill 10,000 people at $1.33 per life. Wow. And she explains that this is the perfect stealth weapon. It's a poor man's nuke. You drop these insects on an enemy, it weakens the population, it ties up medical resources, but doesn't destroy infrastructure like a nuclear bomb would. Again, does this sound familiar? Right? So it really was very, very interesting. And it just really stood out. And it just reinforces the layers of sick going on in this world. But again, we're the light that is shining through the darkness here. Let me add, I think Bob's reconnected. Let me see. Hi, Bob. Can you hear me? It shows that you are on mute, the microphone. So let's see if you can unmute. I'm just seeing a frozen image on my end, Bob. We'll give it a little bit to see if it catches up. There we go again with the lag. It's so unfortunate. I know that, Bob, if you can hear me, it's showing on my end that, there we go, that now you're unmuted. Can you hear me? If you're talking, I can't hear you. I don't know if it's the mic, the headphones, or maybe a setting. Audience, can you hear me okay? I just want to do a check-in. Can someone in chat let me know that you can hear me clearly and in what I've been saying? We know that Bob is having some technical difficulties because of interference. Okay, thank you, Katya. Thank you, Lenny. I see some familiar screen names. Thanks so much for joining in again today. Hi, Bob. Can you hear me? Well, it looks like we're just having really difficulty and getting him connected because of the interference. Bob, if you can hear me, what we may want to do is, plan to do a pre-recorded because this content is very valuable to this community. And I do not want this community to miss out on the great information that Bob has for everyone regarding Morgellons and Lymes. Bob, are you able to hear me now? If you're able to hear me, I was suggesting we might have to, due to the interference that is happening, preventing you from being able to speak today, that we do a offline pre-recorded so that we can strengthen our chances of getting this valuable content out to the community. And then that way I can broadcast it, on a Sunday so that we get the information. Bob, are you able to hear me now?
I can hear you, Melissa. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All
Okay,
right.
yeah, I heard what you said about about doing the recording. I think that would be great
Yes. Well,
under the circumstances.
right now I can hear you really, really well. So
Okay.
let me see. Let's just start out with that that first question that I had, and let's see if it hangs up in terms of the connection. Are you still able to hear me well, really well? It's freezing up again, unfortunately, on my end. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're having such difficulty with this. To me, it just speaks volumes about what links, people will go to try to silence this valuable information that we have for the community. Bob, I think probably what we're going to need to do is just decide on a day to do a pre-recorded, and then I can play it on a Sunday so that everybody gets the information. And again, I apologize to everybody, but really, we know that this stuff is really out of our hands when that comes down to interference with Wi-Fi and cellular devices. Bob has, in the past, done other, podcasts and such too, and been met with challenges of getting the information. But I do think that if we do that pre-recorded, Bob, I think it'll work out a lot better so that it's, with the interference.
Okay. Thank you for trying this, Melissa.
Oh, and thank
Really
you. And
appreciate
I'm
it.
so sorry that this happened, but we will just send me some your availability. Just email me your availability. If it's during the week, it would for me it would need to be in the evening, and then just whatever days are good for you, and we'll get it recorded, and then the community can benefit from this important information. And again, thanks so much. Bob. I really do appreciate it, and we'll get this valuable information out to the community. All right. What I'm going to do, since we're having you can start asking me questions, anybody who wants to ask some questions, and then I'm going to go into some additional information. One of those things is I'm going to try to play a clip from that Tucker Carlson interview with Kris Newby. That was from May of 2024. That it's just a small, snippet from it, but it goes over some of what I was discussing with y'all. Let me see if I can bring it up on the screen. And here we go. Let's try this. I'm going to do share screen. All right. So let's take a look and see if I can bring this video up right here. I don't know if I can make it much bigger, but we'll try. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. All right. Let me stop that right. All right. Oh, no. Did I lose my connection? All right. Did I lose my connection? Can y'all see me? I need to stop sharing. Forgive me and my technical hiccup here. Let me stop screen. There we are. All right. Was everybody able to hear that? When I go and share my screen, which I don't like to do, I just never know what's happening because I can't see what everybody is saying. So good. Thank you for confirming that you were able to. Wow. I mean, just let's wrap our head around that. I mean, but it really isn't surprising. At the first one I heard it, I was like, wow. I mean, it's just, you almost get this sinking feeling going, okay, here's another layer of evil. But it kind of makes, sense at the big picture of what we're all going through and how this weaponization, it really just, there is, it seems to be no sanctuary anywhere of what is being violated. So, I mean, weaponizing fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes to attack in a population. Well, we understand what that attack is like. I mean, it really is. If they're doing that, it just really explains, okay, yeah, all what's going through with what we are going through and experiencing, it fits into that bigger picture. So this is just, the targeting program is just a piece of the big iceberg of what is going on around this world and what has been allowed to persist. And this, to me, is where the revolution of the people speaking out about, hey, wait a minute, the government is supposed to be protecting us, not, attacking and torturing us and using us for, experimentation. And there's just no value of life. It's just really just evil and demonic that, those that are participants and do this to our population, innocent women, men, children, elderly, pets. I mean, all of God's creatures on this earth, and even Mother Earth itself is being attacked and manipulated by directed frequencies. So it's coming to a head because, and I think it's just part of the natural evolution of all of this evil corruption being, silenced and sequestered for so long. It has to, the universe, God has to balance that scale by shaking it out and exposing it. Something before, I was getting, really a strong message on my heart to say today. Before I joined in, I was listening to, I think it's Kim Walker-Smith's song, Surrender. And this is something that I've been doing for a while. And it really takes, it takes bravery to say and release and give God and the universe the authority to intervene in every single aspect of your life, to surrender every single aspect. Where what I do, this I'll just use it as an example, is that I am one with, God, and I am one with my higher self, and that I ask that my ego step aside, because that ego is the one that is looking for the revenge and all of that emotional triggers is where that ego is, right? So you want to just be with your higher self and connect, with your soul, and ask it to get out of the way. And then I invite God to intervene in every aspect of my life for my highest good, for my well-being, and for my soul's purpose and mission. Because I want to speak to you, everyone. We have a soul responsibility. Our soul mission is activated. And that activation, was ignited the moment that we became targeted. Because God is using us as that voice, and our bravery, our resilience, our refusal to surrender to evil forces that are of this earth. And now we are banded together in unity in exposing what is being done and letting others know what is being done and possibly will be done to them if they don't get on board with what is really going on in this world. Because evil is lurking in every single corner of it. So getting back to what I was saying about surrendering, that surrender it can be pretty scary because we want God to step in certain things, but maybe not everything. But you have to get to that point where you're willing to surrender it all to God, to the light, to intervene. And the message that I was getting is with that powerful surrender of saying, hey, I can't carry this no more. I'm going to surrender it all areas of my life for God to intervene, intercede on my behalf for my highest good, for my well-being, and for my soul's purpose. What I was getting right at that moment is when that surrender takes place, then God, the universe, heeds the call. And when God intervenes and steps in, there is no darkness that can get to you. And this is something that we have to continue. It's like a battle each and every day that we need to feed the light and not the darkness, because it's so easy in a moment to flip and then get into that ego-centered of just wanting to fight these perpetrators and everything. We cannot let them steal our peace and joy. You know, we're special in this fight. We really are, because I think we are a very critical piece to this puzzle that is unfolding right now for humanity. And I've said this over and over and over again. It's not just about, you know, groups that, you know, the child trafficking, human trafficking, which, you know, this experimentation, the targeting program, all of these things that are being done, directed energy, weather influence, being, you know, all of this stuff, the manipulation of our food source, you know, tainting the food source. There's just so many things. Again, there's so many layers to this iceberg of the evil that is going on and the corruption, which all stems back from greed, power, control, and perversions, right? It's and, you know, people thinking that one life is expendable and there's no importance of or value over a life. And, you know, outside of this flesh suit, we're all the same, right? We're all the same. Now, there are others that have been, you know, corrupted by, you know, the earthly pleasures of this existence, you know, materialism. Everything that we look at on social media or on television is trying to enlist us to spend money in that capitalism and stuff. So, I mean, when all of this stuff is unfolding, you can kind of see the bigger picture of the manipulation, the level of manipulation that is going across on so many, you know, levels. And here we are in the middle of all of this. So again, I think it's very brave to just surrender it all to God, because that means, you know, when the light comes in, things can get, you know, shook up, right? God's rearranging things, getting, you know, toxic people out of your life, you know, having you focus on maybe some unhealthy habits. You know, we can't cherry pick when it comes to surrendering to God and the light. But he can show us what we need to work on while he does this heavy lifting things and lifts these burdens off of ourselves. You know, these are imposed burdens that we've had to carry. They've been trauma inducing, you know, emotional triggering to us. They play upon our fears, phobias, and past trauma and grief and suffering to manipulate us, to pull our strings. So if anything, let's just get out the scissors and cut the strings of what these manipulators, these perpetrators, these violators that come against humanity in such a disrespectful way. Let's not give them anything to play with, because, I mean, working on yourself helps you, right? And it defeats them. So just something to take away on that, because really it really just baffles me about the links that they do go through to manipulate us and to try to have us stumble. They're always going to be putting those stumbling blocks on us. Austin, I see your comment. You said Satan deceives his followers, which what makes them think they are the exception, epitome of evils is deception itself. They harvest our energy called loose energy. Well, yeah, I mean they're trying to manipulate us in so many different, and really it is about energetic and frequency and but your own personal vibration, right? When you are praying or you're meditating or you're centering yourself around things that give you some peace and comfort or some joy, you're going to be vibrating higher. And then they want to distract you. The enemy wants to distract you and make you stumble in that moment because you're having a moment of peace. You're having a moment of joy, and you're doing something good for yourself. So, here comes the vultures circulating to distract you. So just be cognizant of the patterns and the links of what it goes through. And then you can get that big picture of the manipulation that is involved with this. Keeping us triggered and anchored in, fear, grief and suffering, distraction, is how they have more hold over us in that moment. So it's very hard sometimes, but we need to, yes, Light Seeker, I see you saying connection to nature, the spirit and all. Exactly. We are a group that is being experimented on with these directed energy weapons and the gang stalking and the auditory effect and all of these things. But there are other groups out there too. We have the ones that they programmed in MK Ultra. They're, all of where they were in facilities having this thing done, and then we are not in a facility having this torment and mind splintering and being done to us because they have evolved into it being a remote touchless. Well, they do touch us, right? But you know what I'm saying. It has evolved over time. So we just really need to keep in the fight. This is a hard time of year for people in general anyway. The holidays can bring on a lot of emotional stress for some. And then you compound that with those that are being targeted in addition to that. So I really urge you for this, for the rest of the year, just find things that bring you joy. Whether it be a song, whether it be a walk, it be nature, connecting, doing something that you used to love as a child, something that brings you joy, and, celebrate yourself. And I know that this experience can be very isolating, but you can celebrate yourself. You can create your own movie night for yourself, can prepare your own special meal, something that you like. And this is how we win. We need to connect back into us because this experience itself can make you lose yourself, but it also can reveal who you really are and how strong and capable you are. So it has, to me, I look at it as, okay, it's taught me a lot about myself. And yes, there's been a lot of pain and suffering along this road since 2012. But again, it was very revealing about what stuff that I am made of. And then I took that purpose, that pain, and turned it into purpose. Thanks to God, God opened the door for me to have this podcast and to share with each and every one of you weekly. So that is such a blessing, and I wouldn't take any of it back because to me, I think it's really molded me into a better human being than what I was before I got targeted. And this is the way that I look at it, because again, we don't want to have to continue, carrying all of this suffering. We have a channel, an outlet to turn it around and put it into constructive, measures and action. So I don't know. Let me take a look at the chat here. I was going to play a recent video that Dominic Halpin did specifically on B2K being used to trigger people to act out, and those that have taken lives as a result of the B2K. I wanted to play that. This was something new, and Dominic Halpin was a recent guest on the Chosen Heroes, and he created the Cognitive Liberty mind control video that we've been promoting, and he is a board member, honorary board member of the Targeted Justice. And Sean's been very busy translating that video, the Cognitive Liberty mind control, into many languages so that all of those being targeted around the world can, gain, that valuable insight that was so perfectly crafted in his documentary, and consume that information for them and share it amongst where they are as well with that translation. So let me bring that video up right quick. It's just a couple of minutes long, but it's so well done. And I urge everyone, this is on my X page. I shared it on my X page. This is what we got to get out there, and the big time chats, high traffic chats where there are people who are unaware of this type of programs and everything that we're going through, and just start plugging that information in there. Just start dropping it, because we need to get this information out there and what is possible through government weaponization. I mean, just like, with the using ticks and fleas and mosquitoes as bioweapons, I don't, especially with what all went down with, COVID and everything, and the origins of a lab. And this isn't the first time, with these type of, debilitating diseases, deadly diseases coming out and everything. At this point, I think everybody needs to be very, research is your best friend. And just seeing that bigger picture unfold, that we really truly aren't protected. We're being, subject to experimentation at will call, right? We hadn't done anything, to warrant what's being done to us. But I give it over to God to expose this. And that's my prayer every single day, that God is activating a light army all around this world. And through that army, we are exposing the corruption that is being done against innocent women, men, and children. We have to do this for the future, for the children's future, for the future of humanity itself. It's that serious. It is that serious. How can humanity continue on at this level of corruption being done against civilians? We have to stand our ground that, machine is not, God designed us as unique, souls on this earth, and we are not going to be overridden by machines and manipulated by machines and frequencies. We have the divine birthright to be, and remember, you are a divine sovereign being. You are a child of God. And you need to claim your birthright, your divine birthright. Each and every day you declare it, and nothing of this earth or otherwise can take that from you. We want to be that organic, thumbprint that God created us in. Each and every one of us is unique, and we need to embrace the undesirable parts of who we are, along with the good as well. Because that is where these type of weapons technology, torture technology come in and seep in and try to split our mind apart and fragment us by that torture, by amplifying our insecurities and our perceived fallacies. And we need to give ourselves some grace, and we need to love ourselves as a whole. And another thing that I think it's important, especially in these times of biological hijacking and frequency manipulation and the directed energy, the subliminals, all of this stuff, is every single day I declare I embrace of all who I am, all parts of myself. I am fully integrated and I am whole. And again, this is just part of my daily prayer. We have to, those undesirable aspects of ourselves, for me, I'm obsessive, about perfection and things being right sometimes. And I'm very direct. But I also look at those aspects, of myself as the grit, right? And then your more desirable, friendly aspects of yourself. It's all part of who you are. It's those grit parts of who you are that is why you're still standing here today. That's, and if you didn't have those parts, it may be a different story. So we have to really embrace ourselves as a whole and give ourselves that grace. So, me, I have a tendency to ramble. Let's bring up that video about the B2K and how people who have taken other people's lives have reported that they were hearing voices. And of course, we all know about what that auditory effect is about. So I think this is, again, very well done. It's a short version that kind of leads into what is being discussed in the Cognitive Liberty Mind Control video, which you can find on YouTube or TechNative's social media sites. So let me bring up this one for you to see.
Could mind control, and in particular wireless frequencies, be used to create a puppet-like killer? What could drive your everyday person to kill? Potentially a voice inside your head posing as God. We know, after all, that weapons that can beam voices into the mind wirelessly exist and are unironically called voice of God weapons. Wired has published several articles on voice-to-skull technology, also reporting the U.S. Army pulled down the site detailing the capabilities of these weapons. There have been many mass murders where the perpetrators have said they heard voices. Of course, these killers are written off as schizophrenic. But what if there's more to it? In 2003, in a small Texas town, Deanna Laney, a deeply religious mother, tragically took the lives of 2 of her young sons and gravely injured another, believing she was following the voice of God. In Canada in 2008, Will Baker, a man tormented by insistent voices in his head that he believed were divine commands, tragically ended the life of a fellow bus passenger in a brutal attack. Baker later claimed that his voices had told him he was the 3rd chapter of the Bible, and he was to guard Earth against an alien attack. In the secure confines of the Washington Navy Yard in southeast Washington, D.C., troubled IT contractor Aaron Alexis, tormented by insidious voices he believed were emanating from extremely low-frequency government mind control devices, tragically ended the lives of 12 innocent civilians and wounded 3 others in a chaotic rampage, before being fatally shot by responding police.
The Navy Yard shooting, the warning signs were there. ABC News has learned that shooter Aaron Alexis was kicked out of Navy housing just weeks before his rampage because he was raving about voices in his head.
Law enforcement sources tell ABC News Aaron Alexis abruptly left a Newport, Rhode Island Navy barracks after constantly complaining that noises were coming out of his linen closet. During roughly the same time frame, Newport Naval Station police were warned by local authorities that Alexis was hearing voices and feared he was under constant surveillance by shadowy figures.
As disclosed by the FBI at the time, Alexis had engraved my ELF weapon on his gun, and they had retrieved writings where Alexis said an ultra-low frequency attack is what I have been subjected to for the past 3 months. And to be honest, it is what's driven me to this. In the town of Colchester in England, troubled teenager James Fairweather, haunted by commanding voices, tragically ended the lives of 2 vulnerable strangers in brutal stabbings in March and June 2014. He told police his voices were demanding a human sacrifice and were laughing as he was carrying out the 2 murders.
And I saw him. It was laying on the grass. Something like that. It was like just fast asleep. Was where he was drunk. Went up to him. Stood over like that. Then first there. And I've done it a few times. While I was doing that, my voices were laughing and laughing and laughing louder and louder. So my voices were talking to me. You need to make a sacrifice, or we're going to come and get you. You need to do it.
In January 2017, at an airport in Florida, troubled Iraq War veteran Esteban Santiago, tormented by relentless voices in his head urging him to commit acts of violence, tragically ended the lives of 5 innocent travelers and wounded 6 others in a sudden rampage. Santiago had visited the local FBI to report that his mind was being controlled by a U.S. intelligence agency and that the CIA had been making him watch ISIS videos, presumably in his head. In Maine in 2023, troubled Army reservist Robert Card, tormented by relentless voices mocking and ridiculing him, tragically ended the lives of 18 innocent people and wounded 13 others in devastating attacks on a bowling alley and a bar, before taking his own life 2 days later.
Federal police are still on a manhunt for the man accused of shooting and killing 18 people at a Maine bowling alley and bar on Wednesday night. A sister-in-law to the suspect, 40-year-old Robert Card, confirmed to the Wall Street Journal that he received 2 weeks of inpatient psychiatric treatment over this past summer as he was hearing voices. She said he started believing he could hear people say awful things about him.
More recently, 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr. murdered Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska on a subway in North Carolina. While there are no mentions of him hearing voices, he spoke to his sister after the murder, where he claimed the government had put materials in his body.
So you said something in your body did what?
The material, the material used in my body is stabilized.
While there's no way to prove any of these murders were the result of V2K or psychotronic neuroweapons, for targeted individuals, the details of each case are striking. There are, however, 2 incidents where the shooters have been self-identified targeted individuals. In 2014, in Tallahassee, Florida, troubled attorney Myron May, tormented by voices convincing him he was under constant government surveillance, tragically wounded 3 innocent students in a sudden shooting spree before being fatally shot by responding police. Before the shooting, May emailed videos and letters to contacts outlining his belief in being a targeted individual.
It's with a heavy heart that I am in front of you now, kind of my last words. You see, I am a victim of covert harassment and electronic harassment and gang stalking. I'm what's called a targeted individual. As sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church. I would hear voices in my apartment explaining what it was that I was doing. If I went to the kitchen, they'd say stuff, oh, he's headed to the kitchen now. Or if I went to the bathroom, they'd, oh, he's headed to the bathroom. We are subjected to torture daily. Father, I ask that you forgive me my sins, all my past sins, all my present sins, and all my future sins.
Less than a week before the shooting, May asked on Facebook, Has anyone ever been encouraged by your handler to kill with a promise of freedom? In August 2022, in the Ohio suburbs, Stephen Marlowe, tormented by merciless voices in his head, tragically ended the lives of 4 innocent people in a devastating shooting spree, before fleeing and publishing a pre-recorded video on social media, explaining his motives as being a counterattack against mind control.
We have been attacked by this weapon our entire lives, and the attack against me personally is one of the most vicious attacks a human being has ever faced. I have tolerated the most inhumane torture in hopes that the FBI and CIA would come to my defense, but they have failed to come to my aid. My only hope is that you come to understand what has happened here. When the world realizes what has happened, there will be justice, but I cannot sit by and be a victim any longer, and I refuse to sit by and do nothing while my nieces and nephews and the rest of my family are operated on with mind control. Our thoughts are not private. It is disgusting and it is cruel. I will be launching the first counterattack against mind control in human history. I want to be very clear, this will not be an active shooting event. I will be executing some of the people responsible for activating shooters. If I can help another targeted individual fight back against telepathy, then the sacrifice will be well worth it. The most horrific weapon ever made is being used on human beings, and if you ever learn the truth, you will understand what I did here to protect myself and my family. Get this out to other TIs, other voice hearers, so the world has a chance to fight back. To my family, especially my nieces and nephews, I want you to understand that what I do here, I do for your future, and hope that you can live a life free of mind control.
If the subject doesn't know they're under attack, a weapon that wirelessly projects voices directly into their mind could be influential, especially if the voice is posing as God or promising freedom in exchange for a human sacrifice. Are wireless frequencies and directed energy weapons being used to drive people to commit acts of violence? And if so, to what end?
Repetitive messaging through people who are highly suggestible, is a CIA term, can be converted into mass murders or mass shooters. It is my personal opinion that the CIA is still doing this.
People say mind control. Like, I don't imagine that somebody can shoot a beam into your head right now and make you do something specifically. I think of it more as manipulations, and some people are more susceptible to those manipulations than others.
Somebody asked me, why would the CIA or whoever's doing it, why would they want to carry out shootings? And the answer is very simple. They want to disarm the population.
I'm completely convinced that they are actually Manchurian candidate type programmed individuals who are targeted and then programmed to carry out false flag operations to frighten society, frighten the public, and create public concern so that on the back of that public concern, they can bring in tighter regulations and rules curtailing human rights and your freedoms.
Many targeted individuals testify to a manipulative nature to the torture they endure. One thing's for sure. This program is designed to drive people to the brink, where they'll do anything to make it stop, potentially even kill.
I just think that the way that Dominic Halpin articulated that information, just as he did in the full documentary of Cognitive Liberty, Mind Control, this particular focused one on, the power of the voice of God weapon, the auditory effect, V2K, had and, influenced over these individuals. It's really heartbreaking because as somebody who has the auditory effect since 2012, to hear, those that were so tormented by it in this way, I will say this as a reminder: God will never ask you to harm yourself or someone else. That's not a true voice of God. I also ask, because I think it's very important, the power of prayer, that you include in your daily prayers asking God to give you the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the discernment to know all that is light and of the truth, and to shield you from deception and manipulation. You're putting on a powerful cloak to wear that entire day, and armor, so that you won't be so easily subjected to these manipulations because they're so powerful. You consider the many ways that these people use manipulation on you, subliminally and frequency-based, and of course with auditory. And the one person that in the video who said that, if they killed, there would be a promise of freedom. This is just the tried and true tactic of auditory effect. In my case, they were trying to encourage me to kill myself, that nobody loved me, that nobody would miss me. I just might as well just go ahead and get it over with, because every mind was breakable. This was the handler communication, going, and it was very repetitive. Every mind is breakable. Every mind is breakable. And we're going to kill you and make it look like a suicide. We're going to kill your mother. We're going to kill your pets. Right? So for me, the action that I took when I heard you're going to kill me and make it look like a suicide was that I wrote out a letter saying that if anything ever happens to me, it was not anything that I did of my own accord. I have been harassed since X date, And I gave that information to several people, right? That made me feel better. But I want everybody to know that, again, this is the auditory effect, the gain stalking, 101 tactics, right? If you do something that will harm you or discredit you, we'll give you your privacy and your freedom back. And I've said this before on the broadcast too, because one of the things that handlers were trying to get me to do was to write a letter to the president, who is this multi-millionaire in Houston at this corrupt company that I worked for. If I wrote that letter saying that all of what I had reported and stated was in my head, they would give me my privacy back. And I just knew that that was just a load of crap, because, you can't look to your torturer, your harasser, and, your violator to be the source of your end of suffering and freedom. You can't. That's not going to happen. And for those that have been on the fence and maybe not, knowing what to do, there is no honor amongst thieves and perpetrators. I mean, these people will never give you what they say they will. It will never, ever happen. And they just go on to try something else. And they try to bring in any little thing to use over you, to bait you. And you have to stare into the face of what it really is. And it is just a psychological manipulation of you. These people have no ability to give you back what they say they're going to give back to you. They are pawns in this piece of the puzzle. Those that have the live handlers, and then you have the AI generated stuff that just latches on to your patterns and your thoughts. And then you have, of course, the thoughts that aren't even yours. And you're like, okay, where did that come from? That's not me. I reject it. That's what happens. If I get one of those thoughts, I'm like, okay, that is not my thought. I reject that. And so these are the type of, tools that you can do when, you're getting, the vulture circulating on you per se. And I just want people to know that you're still standing. And you have the power in your hands to take what has happened to you and turn it into purpose. And that is by getting this information out to others. You must know that you're not alone. There are so many of us. And I know it's a struggle. And I empathize with, the testimonies that was in that video that I just played too. You could tell we understand exactly what some of them are saying. We live and breathe this in 24/7, and you just want it to stop and you want it to go away. And that's what they are banking on, is for you to perpetuate the circle, the win for them, and to act out and discredit yourself, to harm yourself, to get you labeled and incarcerated, and to do something, because in their eyes, that's a win. So I asked you to please stop and pause. If you're on the fence about some of these cleverness at what they do to try to manipulate you to do something that is not in your best interest, you really need to take a step back and go, is this going to benefit this program, or is it going to benefit me? They say that they're going to give me back these things. It's not going to happen. I cannot express how many times and methods that they try to promise you that they're going to give you back what they've stolen from you. To me, I dig in my heels. There is nothing on this earth that will excuse or erase what has been done to me, but I will take it and turn it into purpose and help others as a result of it and expose it. I'm not going to give my time to this, the shenanigans that they try, and just to see it for what it is. It really is about seeing the big picture of it. They use a lot of common tricks on each and every one of us, and then they take the element of personalization. They go in rummaging into your closet, your grief, your suffering, your past traumatic events and all of that, and they rummage around in it, and they design out, throw out some of that to manipulate you with too. So I say make peace with yourself in the past events and try to let that go. And because be damned if I'm going to let some perpetrator sit there and use my own garbage that I have carried as a tool to manipulate me. And this is the way that you really need to see it for what it is. I mean, come on. So what's the choice with it? Okay, they've rummaged around and they found some, some cracks and crevices that they could try to seep in and try to manipulate me with my own past events and that proverbial, closet, right, of stuff that has been undesirable that life has dished out to you thus far. So the way that you win with that is you just make peace with that. You can see life and all of those events as stepping stones and blocks along the way that have, in many ways, those events made me strong and incapable of countering these attacks. So you can take those as teachers that taught you to be strong and resilient during those times to prepare you for this. Life is this ever evolving and unfolding event. And this experience too, instead of letting it being something that will defeat you, it can elevate you into a better version of who you are. And this is how we win against this, along with speaking out and exposing it. So I'm going to go through some of the chats. I've seen some come through. Katya, this is good, strong advice here. Forgiveness is self-love. Not forgetting is wisdom. Yes. I mean, every event of life is like, it's been a teacher. And we have to, there's things that we like to beat ourselves up for. And this is another trap, I think, that comes in with the targeting program, is we beat ourselves up. Well, what if I did this? Or what if I had done that? Or what if I didn't do this? I wouldn't have suffered this. We got to let that go too. because we don't know. It could have been coming at us in a different direction, no matter what we did. And I firmly believe that, we were locked into this and it was going to happen to us. And use it as a personal evolvement. I know that we're suffering it, but we see what happens to some that can't bear it anymore, and the acts that they'll do just to try to make it stop. And we just lift them up and we carry the torch of not relenting and not giving up and speaking out about this. I believe it is, this iceberg is got threads raveling, right? And we're just going to continue to pull those threads and expose this, because there's so many layers of what is being done to manipulate humanity and Earth and its creatures. At this point, we're part of this. And I think we're a very important part of this, because we are exposing this, what has happened to us. There's too many of us for it to be deniable, but they'll still try to gloss it over as psychosis, delusion, schizophrenia, all of these things. And then they'll come back years later going, oh, yeah, well, yeah, that was true. We've seen that how many times this year? So we just got to keep fanning the flame. I'm looking through the chat here. Lots of good comments and familiar faces here. So glad to have y'all back. And again, for those that tuned in late, our guest, Bob Gettman, his connection, Wi-Fi and cellular, was under heavy attack, and he was not able to continue, get a strong enough connection to have that conversation with me. So what I offered Bob was that him and I will do a pre-recording at his convenience, because the live stream, it does get hit very heavily under attack. And we'll do the pre-recording so that we can get the content out to the community, because Bob is an excellent resource on Morgellons, and we don't want to miss out on that. And again, it only speaks to the methods that they go through to try to silence this. And this has happened to him before in live streaming as well. They just don't want him speaking on this at all, it seems. But we're not going to give up. We're going to make it happen, and we're going to get the content out. Have some good questions for him, and it'll be a great discussion. So be looking for that. I will make it happen, I promise. All right, let's see. I know that some, I see that people are reporting that they're really heavily under attack with the burns and everything. I know it's just like every day it's like we don't know what we're going to get, right? And that happens to me too. Just at random times I'll get, a burn on my face, and it's just what we go through. And this is why it's so important for those to get the FOIA request in, as mentioned in the Targeted Justice video today. There is a template available. And for me, when I sent in my original request, it was denied. So I need to send it in again, and I'm going to use that template as a guideline. And for those who didn't get to tune in last week with Anna Toledo, it was discussed during that. It's very important that you list every single variation of your name, whether, former name, if you're divorced, any name that you've ever used on an application, put them all in there. Don't, nope, just because we don't know, to me, it's like the entry point. So you need to make sure the name that you had at the entry point, because it could have been before you recognized it. It may have been covert on the targeting, right? And the surveillance. So use all of those. And the other thing that was very important that was mentioned on the FOIA request was to make sure that you use all of your former addresses and include those too, because again, that would be another entry point, and that may be that particular address has got the information. So we want to try, all avenues. So the template is very, very good. Just go ahead and get that taken care of. We need to try, and I'm definitely going to do that myself. I'm trying to get back to a comment that I said. Yeah, Austin's here. They tried bargaining with me. I did not and will not fall for that BS. Exactly. We cannot barter with this program here. The handlers, it's never going to be in our favor if we accept the bait that they are giving us. Please, I cannot express that enough. Do not. I mean, they will try to even sprinkle in just a little tiny piece of truth, but that's just a tactic too. So don't pay it, don't listen to it, don't get guidance from it. I mean, but again, you giving it attention is a win for it too. So it's very difficult, especially if you've got 24/7, V2K, you've got to find tools to navigate around that. Focus on background noise, play some music. You can't feed that mess, because I can't tell you from years, experience, that if you give into it and respond back to it, it amplifies it. It will amplify it. And then you've got to go through the measures to disconnect from, the stronghold that it has for you. So I always say, don't extend your hand and do the dance with it. Just ignore it, because it's really, you just need to starve it is what you need to do. That's the best thing. Yes, and exactly. Enough corruption says, don't be baited. Exactly. We must not. And I really appreciate you with hanging in there with me today with the technical challenges that we've had. I'm currently working on getting scheduling for the remainder of December and January. Waiting on, guest availability and to hear back, because I want to continue to bring valuable content to this community. And I really appreciate your time with me today, even though it didn't turn out that Bob could talk with us today. But I promise you, we're going to get that information out to you, because it has been requested multiple times to have the discussion on the Chosen Heroes about Morgellons. And Bob has really good information to give us. And for those that are tuning in, and was really helpful to hear what he had to say, I do want to point out some great resources, which Bob accredits to great research on Morgellons as well. And that would be resources. Let me get all of the names here. Dr. Ginger Savley's book on Morgellons, Kris Newby's Bitten, and the full name of that book is Bitten, The Secret History of Lyme Disease and Biological Weapons, and Dr. Anna Mahalcha's Transhuman book, and Dr. Hildegard Staninger's work on messagens, and Isabella McLeod's Transhuman. Those are all great resources for Morgellons information. We know that if we go and Google about Morgellons disease, there's deniability. There's even lines out there in Google saying that it is a psychological, delusional type thing. which we know that's not true. They even went as far in one Google search that I read to say that the reported filaments, the strings coming out of the skin, was just something of a textile that rubbed up against the individual. To me, it just speaks volumes about how much it's being covered up, of it being a biological weapon. And but we know about this. This is nothing new for us. So, but again, I really extend my heartfelt thanks out to everyone who attended and hung in there with me. With Bob not being able to speak, I hope that you got good content from the Tucker Carlson video that I played that featured one of the key resources that Bob Gettman credits in research, on Morgellons, which was Kris Newby's. It was an interview, if those who tuned in, from May of 24, Tucker Carlson and Kris Newby, who is the author of the Bitten, The Secret History of Lyme Disease and Biological Weapons, where she's discussing how ticks, fleas, and mosquitoes were created as a biological weapon. I urge you to watch that. The look on Tucker Carlson's face during that interview, I wish he would have that, face and expose, give us some airtime, right, on the Targeted Individual program. And I often ask myself, why would someone who does, get close to the edge and trying to, give some airtime on, let's say, ticks as a biological weapon, but what about the human experimentation? So I don't understand that. And all we can do is continue to be the squeaky wheel. I know that I drop a lot of videos in the chats for, Tucker Carlson. I urge you to do so too. Those independent media influencers like Candace Owens and others out there that have high volume traffic, this is where we need to be dropping this type of information. And the cognitive liberty mind control video, the smaller video that I played today too, is a great one to drop in there and just let somebody be fed the truth of what really is going on, because could be a lifeline for that person that it's happening to them or someone that they know. And as I've said, it is in the back of their mind. It's on the bookshelf, right? And if they are exposed to hearing something like that, instead of them going to, oh, this is psychological and delusional, they have another reference on their bookshelf that is, oh, this has been reported that this has been happening to people. So we have to look at it from a perspective. We don't know who we're going to reach when we get out there and we share this information. So, and any person, gaining from this information, it makes a difference in the bigger picture. So again, much love to you all. Stay strong, celebrate the gift of who you are. Put some time and self-care for yourself. The holidays can be a struggle sometimes, but celebrate you. And God bless each and every one of you. And I will see you next week. Have a blessed week ahead. Much love.